You're not going to believe me because it is a never-ending saga, a never-ending strange tale.
Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl, escort, whatever you want to call it. That's what she was. Being a deal or no deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits.
It all began on one of those deceptively calm London nights. Outside Mayfair, the city slept under a silver glow. But inside that private dining room, the air cracked with tension. You could almost feel the electricity in the room, as if everyone knew they were standing on the edge of a secret too dangerous to speak. This wasn't your usual dinner.
That really is just so insane. I just never thought that my life would ever end up here.
No. This was a royal-adjacent gathering exclusive, shadowy, and laced with danger. Every whisper carried power, every smile a hidden threat. The room glittered with old money and new ambition, politicians, aristocrats, socialites who traded secrets like currency. Laughter flowed with the wine, but beneath it all was that sharp metallic scent of something about to break, and then it did. Among the crowd sat none other than Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, or Fergie as the tabloids love to call her.
Yacht girl, that's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl. Now, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it happened, but I am saying
she was radiant in that familiar way of hers, a woman who'd fallen from grace, clawed her way back, and learned how to smile like she knew the ending of every story before it began. Her eyes flickered with that dangerous mix of charm and mischief. She leaned in, her voice low but slicing through the chatter like glass. "Let's just say," she murmured, "Meghan was Andrew's first client." The words hit the room like an explosion. Forks froze mid-air. Someone audibly gasped.
According to people, she got started her yachting days and she never stopped really. I don't think any of her boyfriends knew about it, but Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for...
The laughter died, replaced by stunned silence. Nobody breathed because everyone knew exactly what those 7 words meant. This wasn't small talk. This was royal dynamite. Long before Prince Harry ever came into the picture, Meghan Markle's world was a very different place. Hollywood had been cold to her cruel. Even the roles were fleeting, the paycheck small, the rent merciless. She was ambitious, beautiful, but trapped in a city where fame was a locked door, and the key rarely came without a price. But there were other doors, secret ones, the kind only whispered about. Private gatherings where power and opportunity met behind closed yacht decks and velvet ropes. In that world, fame wasn't given. It was brokered.
Meghan Markle was just one of the working girls for Soho House. Call girl, working girl, escort, whatever you want to call it. That's what
Those yachts off the glittering Mediterranean, the ones the public never sees, that's where deals were sealed and fortunes changed hands. The elite didn't meet at premieres or red carpets. They met offshore, away from cameras, under the stars, and champagne-drenched secrets. And according to whispers that refused to die, Meghan knew exactly how to navigate that world. She wasn't yet a duchess, not even a star. But she had something far rarer presence, the kind that turned heads and drew curiosity like a magnet. She was bold, magnetic, a woman who knew how to be seen by the right people at the right moment. And that's when names started to overlap names like Prince Andrew. She wasn't famous yet, but unforgettable? Absolutely. Confident, elegant, and fearless in her pursuit of something bigger. That's where the connections began to intertwine. The same yachts, the same circles, the same after-dark events whispered about but never confirmed. Make it end, what is this? The same voices, the same faces, the same scandals. Nothing ever proven, but nothing convincingly denied either. And those words from Fergie, Andrew's first client, weren't random gossip.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, "Hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before."
They were a direct hit, aimed right at Meghan's weakest point, her past, her struggle, her hustle. Because in the royal world, perception can destroy you faster than proof ever can. Behind the chaos stood one quiet man, Marcus Anderson, the invisible connector. Through him, Meghan met Fergie. Through Fergie, she met Harry. And through that one chain of introductions, the royal timeline as we know it completely changed. But that night in Mayfair, Fergie didn't just resurrect old gossip. She reminded the world of something far more dangerous power. Meghan might have worn the crown, but Fergie still held the matches. And in that dimly lit room, she had just struck one. Across the Atlantic in Montecito, Harry's world was spinning before breakfast. The rumor had reached California faster than a wildfire. By lunchtime, his phone wouldn't stop buzzing. He was furious. Not at the tabloids, they were predictable. He was angry because the wound came from inside the family. He had left Britain to protect Meghan from this very poison, and yet somehow, thousands of miles away, it had found them again. Back in London, palace staff scrambled like soldiers in a crisis. PR teams rushed to craft statements that said everything and nothing all at once. Unfounded, taken out of context, distorted. But everyone knew Fergie's words were too specific to be dismissed. And as the storm grew louder, the ghosts began to resurface. Fergie's own past replayed across television screens, the scandals of the 90 seconds, the infamous toe-sucking photos, the financial chaos, the Matson stay, royal exile. But through every disgrace, she'd survived. She'd rebuilt. She'd learned the game better than anyone else. Because Sarah Ferguson was never just chaotic. She was calculating. And now, she'd chosen the perfect moment to speak. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew's name once again polluted every headline. His friendship with Epstein and Maxwell had already stained the monarchy. Now, to have Meghan's name tangled in that same thread, that was a PR nightmare even Buckingham Palace couldn't spin away. As the tabloids devoured every syllable, Meghan disappeared, her team canceling events, avoiding cameras, shutting down appearances, silence. And silence in the court of public opinion is never mercy, it's fuel. Each day without her voice made the whispers sound more like truth. Prince Andrew had always lived like consequences were for other people. Private jets, secret islands, lavish parties, he'd built a life wrapped in luxury and whispers. For decades, he'd moved through a world where the rules bent around his last name. And now, Fergie's words had tied Meghan straight to that same world, the one the royals had spent years trying to erase from memory. Yes, that's right. The whispers said her money didn't come from the small screen gigs, it came from the yachting trips. The glamorous ones where access was everything. The ones that could take a struggling actress and place her among billionaires, aristocrats, and yes, princes. Those trips weren't about pleasure, they were about power. Every invitation, every glass of champagne was an audition for a life she knew she wanted. Each introduction edged her closer to the throne she would one day sit beside. So when Fergie dropped her little bombshell, the shock wasn't that it was said it was, that it made sense. It sounded like the final puzzle piece that everyone secretly suspected but never dared to voice. By the end of that week, no one cared whether it was true or not. The damage was done. The whisper had already turned into a wildfire. Because in the royal world, truth isn't what matters, narrative does. And Fergie, the woman who once burned down her own reputation, had now learned how to burn others. She didn't just expose Meghan, she reminded the monarchy and the world that she still had teeth. Weeks later, the palace moved on to ribbon cuttings and charity galas, pretending nothing happened. But the echo of that dinner in Mayfair never really faded. It lingered in corridors, in tabloids, in quiet phone calls between palace aides. Some said Fergie had been trying to protect Andrew, throwing Meghan's name into the fire to pull his out. Others thought she'd had one too many glasses of red and simply slipped. But anyone who truly knows Sarah Ferguson knows one thing: she never slips. Every word she speaks is chosen like a blade, precise, deliberate, deadly. Even Andrew stayed silent, no denial, no confirmation. And that silence screamed louder than any statement ever could. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan tried to rebuild, but something between them cracked, that subtle embarrassment when your partner's past becomes the world's favorite headline. It wasn't just about the scandal. It was about betrayal from the very family they'd run from. And when those two leaked yacht photos surfaced online showing Meghan on those infamous Mediterranean decks, the internet exploded. The line between rumor and reality blurred forever. The world saw it as scandal. But for Meghan and Harry, it was personal. A wound reopened, proof that no matter how far they'd fled from Buckingham's cold shadow, they could never truly escape it. And what about Fergie? She didn't flinch. No apology, no denial. She just carried on attending events, flashing smiles, signing books, waving for cameras, as if she hadn't just thrown a grenade into the royal narrative. That calm, that wasn't peace. It was victory. Because Fergie understood something that others forgot: power doesn't always wear a crown. Sometimes it wears a grin and hides behind gossip. With 7 words, she'd done what tabloids had failed to do for years, tangled Meghan's glossy fairy tale with Andrew's disgrace, and reminded the monarchy that no secret ever stays buried. In the end, as London slipped back into its polite silence, one truth hung heavy over every chandelier and royal hallway. Sarah Ferguson may not wear a crown anymore, but she just proved she could still shake the throne. Because in that gilded world of tiaras and lies, the most dangerous person isn't the one who rules, it's the one who's already lost everything and has nothing left to fear.